So, what really happened to Himawari Uzumaki in that other timeline? Because in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 27, Kashin Koji dropped a single sentence that it should have, and it likely did, send shockwaves through the fandom. He told Inojin that his future self created a new jutsu after he began training with the express interest of avenging Himawari. But here's the thing, we're never told what happened to her. No details, no explanation, just that. We're left to wonder, we're left to speculate. And when you realize that the only person who's ever openly hunted down Himawari is Jura, the tailed beast-like monster who's still out there, the strongest being in the verse currently, it suddenly becomes clear. Himawari is still in danger, and that's not where the story stops either, because Himawari's connection to Kurama, to Naruto, to the Hyuga clan bloodline, and to the Otsutsuki DNA running inside of Boruto, it might be the key to defeating Jura himself now that things have changed in the timeline. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, goes into detail about why Kashin Koji's words about Himawari dying in another timeline should have gotten more of your attention than it may have, and why this is setting her up for an even bigger role down the line. Also, if you haven't seen it yet, the chapter review is up on the channel, and we dropped it on the 20th this month, so I will leave it in the description and the end credits for anyone who's not seen it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my Anime Explained channel where I discuss non-Naruto anime and manga, like the new My Dress Up Darling video where I break down the entire love story of Gojo and Marin, and a video that fans of My Dress Up Darling should find a lot of joy in because a lot of love went into that edit, which that will also be in the end credits and the description box for those you guys who are curious. So let's just start with that ominous foreshadowing, that ominous hint that we got in chapter 27. Kashin Koji tells Inojin that jutsu, the one that you developed in the future, it was born from your will to avenge Himawari. That's a chilling line, not just because every time you hit that like button and the hype button, it makes Himawari smile, so you definitely want to make Himawari smile, but also because we know that Kashin Koji has the ability to see alternate timelines through his 10 Directions jutsu, and what he saw clearly included a timeline where Himawari dies. Now remember this isn't something random. The story's already established that Shikamaru was told by Kashin Koji to keep Himawari inside of Konoha at all costs, or else Jura would kill her. So the very fact that Koji specifically references a timeline where Inojin wants vengeance means that the very warning might have been ignored in a future timeline. And it's kind of in character for Himawari. She knows that her friends are in danger. She's not going to stay locked up. She's going to leave the village, and that means that Jura's gonna strike. And as we know, the result in all of that was tragedy. That led to a side character like Inojin awakening a new power, or rather developing a new power. That isn't just world building, it's also a narrative device. It's meant to tell us as the audience, Himawari's role is bigger than you might be thinking it should be. Her existence, it changes people. Her fate, or in this case her death, it changed the world because it made someone like Inojin step up. Somebody who nobody thought going into the time skip would even be relevant. But again, it makes sense. At the end of part 1, Team 10 were the ones who directly engaged Boruto. All three of them are going to step up at some point. Now, this also brings me to why Jura still holds the purpose and the role of being the biggest threat. From the moment he arrived in Konoha, his actions, they were guided by one goal: finding Naruto Uzumaki. He believed that Naruto still had the Nine Tails sealed inside of him, but when he arrived, everyone was like, hey fam, Naruto's dead. Yet Jura's like, wait, I sense Naruto's chakra. This ain't coming off across right. And that's when he realized, wait, it's Himawari who has it. That revelation, it blew his mind. To him, Himawari, as he battled her, she wasn't just some regular human child. She was something different, something in between. She wasn't quite a Jinchuriki, but she also wasn't quite a human either. He and Kurama both likened her to being something closer to a tailed beast. In that moment, Himawari became more than a target. She became a mirror to Jura's own very existence. That's what makes her danger so personal. To Jura, Himawari isn't prey, she's kin. And like all Otsutsuki-born entities, Jura is drawn towards devouring what resembles himself, especially if it holds that same type of chakra itself. So when he discovered that Naruto's still alive when he was fighting against Kawaki, it didn't erase his fascination with Himawari. If anything, we could argue it intensified it. He wants both. The fact that she died at a later point in time during a timeline, it does make me wonder, does she have a bigger role? If in the future Kashin Koji saw that she was killed by Jura, then her death, it isn't just a tragedy, it's also a cosmic event. The loss of being tied to both the human and the divine worlds. And the reason why you can jump to that conclusion is because there is symbolism in the Uzumaki siblings. So the symbolism that breaks down Boruto Uzumaki, Himawari Uzumaki, and Kawaki Uzumaki, I know trigger warning, but all three might be necessary to defeat Jura. Naruto's generation, they represented the will of fire. Boruto's generation, we could argue, they're thematically being set up to represent the will of the divine. Each of Naruto's children, by blood and by adoption, they embody a different facet of that divine lineage. Boruto, who carries the full genetic awakening of an Otsutsuki through Momoshiki's coma, represents that ascension, humanity rising toward divinity. Again, this is thematically. Himawari, who inherited the Byakugan and now Kurama's chakra, she represents a bridge, the coexistence of all parts of Kaguya when you think about it, because she represents Hagoromo's bloodline and also Hamura's bloodline, the two children born directly of Kaguya. Much like how Kaguya became the Ten Tails, Himawari in a way is becoming a Biju, depending on how you want to view what's being said. Kawaki embodies Ishiki's power, the obsession with control. He represents a fallen god, the corruption of divinity through domination. That is why he is being written as being so obsessed with power. These three symbolically are the only ones who are capable of defeating someone like Jura, because they collectively mirror what he is. Jura isn't a tailed beast in a traditional sense. He's a humanoid Biju, a godlike creature that blurs the line between mortal and divine, just like all three of these characters blur that line as well. So narratively, it makes perfect sense, especially given that Jura was also made up of Ishiki's essence that is found in the Koma Seal that Code has, which again, Boruto tells us Code's Koma Seal has that essence. It's a byproduct of the Otsutsuki, even though Ishiki can't be used to revive through Code. That final battle against Jura, it ain't just about raw power, it's also about harmony. Boruto represents the celestial side, Kawaki represents the corrupted divine, and Himawari represents a balance between beast and human and Otsutsuki. The same balance that Naruto himself, low-key, was in the process of trying to build. And the only reason why I'm kind of throwing the Otsutsuki line in there is because there's a loose mirror to Kaguya in this instance, but you could take the Otsutsuki part out, it still works as her being a balance between Boruto and Kawaki. Himawari's transformation matters. Her evolution from being a background character to a potential savior is one of the most important long-term payoffs in the Boruto manga. And in hindsight, Ikimoto's interviews in 2017 and 2018, he basically told us he had plans for Himawari, because he said when you look at who her parents are, she should be incredibly strong. She started out as the sweet, innocent daughter of Naruto, who loved her brother, who loved her father deeply, who accepted her adopted brother. She was, in a way, the emotional anchor of the Uzumaki family. Ever since Jura's arrival, ever since Omnipotence, that innocence, it's begun fading. When Kurama respawned inside of her, it wasn't just fan service. It symbolized a rebirth, the Nine Tails passing on its will to a new generation. Kurama's presence inside of Himawari represents the flame of Naruto's legacy, but also his burden, because that same chakra was putting a target on her back, the same way that that same chakra put a target on Naruto's back with the Akatsuki. And that's exactly what makes her transformation so powerful. For once, the girl who lived in the background, overshadowed by her father, her brother, and her adopted brother, she now carries all of their legacies. Naruto's power, Boruto's Otsutsuki connection, Kawaki's strong capacity for love without the obsession, and also Hinata's Byakugan, all fused inside of a single vessel. A vessel that even Jura, a tailed beast like himself, recognizes that she is something different. Different holds multiple layers to it. Her current training arc that we see, it is building towards that revelation. She was not meant to be just another supporting cast character. She was not meant to be just another random Uzumaki. She was meant to become something new. A human Biju that doesn't lose itself to rage but instead masters it. A human being with chakra that comes directly from the two bloodlines of Kaguya's children, not her grandchildren. She should be overpowered. Ikimoto knew what the hell he was talking about. Symbolically, Himawari could be used to take the next step in Kurama's character arc. Peace through coexistence, not through suppression. Peace being used as a container. That container in this instance would be Himawari. Naruto only got so far, it's up to Himawari to take it another step further. And that's the hidden meaning, in my opinion, behind Kashin Koji's vision. So let's go back to that line from Kashin Koji, because his wording is too precise to ignore. Notice that he doesn't say after Himawari died. He only says to avenge her. That wording leaves the door open for interpretation. What if Himawari wasn't actually killed? What if something worse happened? Avenge has multiple meanings to it. What if Jura absorbed her? What if he merged her chakra somehow? We don't know what happens when a Shinju acquires her target. We almost saw it with Konohamaru, but we don't know what happens after that. That could explain why Koji calls Jura a existential threat, why the future timeline collapses if Himawari leaves Konoha, or rather if it speeds up the process, because we know in most of those timelines Boruto dies. We just don't know how Boruto got to that point. If Jura ever gains access to Kurama's chakra inside of Himawari, the story lets it be known that's not a good thing for anybody inside of Konoha. That could further push him up being a god tier Biju hybrid with human intelligence, divine chakra, and potentially something else. Again, we don't know what happens when they absorb their targets. So even if Himawari does survive in this main timeline, the vision of her death, it does still matter. It's foreshadowing her narrative importance. It's telling us that everything is leading to a moment where she becomes the center of the story's cosmic balance between Otsutsuki, human, and beast. Inojin's vengeance has a ripple effect. So this is obviously where we have to talk about Inojin, because this might secretly be one of the most emotional payoffs that we've seen foreshadowed into Blue Vortex. In the timeline that Koji references, Inojin's grief over Himawari's fate, it drove him to unlock a new power. That's huge. Inojin is a character that was a background filler ninja, especially in the manga. Nobody gave two fucks about Inojin. There's probably like 10 Inojin fans. And if there are 10 Inojin fans, I ain't one of them. I used to be a fan. He becomes an emotional anchor because of Himawari. That alone tells us something vital. Himawari changes people by just being herself. Her kindness, her connection to everyone, her role as a heart in Naruto's family, it spreads warmth from everyone to Kawaki down to Inojin, though Inojin has other motives. So if her loss could spark vengeance powerful enough to birth a new jutsu, imagine what a presence could do for Boruto and Kawaki in the main timeline, especially if she's strong enough to stand beside them. Her existence is meant to potentially be a spark, not of vengeance, but potentially unity. And that's why the story doesn't purposely tell us what happened to her. It's left open-ended. Whether it be potential death or corruption or absorption in another timeline, all we know is that it led to other characters stepping up. And that's why her fate should stay hidden for now. Narratively speaking, from a writing perspective, keeping Himawari's death or fate hidden is the smartest move that Ikimoto could make, and here's why. If we knew exactly what happened in that alternate timeline, it would kill the suspense. But by letting Koji's words hang in the air, the story raises the stakes without realizing and revealing the payoff. Every time Himawari is shown training now, Every time she interacts with Kurama, we'll subconsciously be thinking, is this what leads to the moment that Kashin Koji saw? How much stronger does she have to be before she avoids that fate? It keeps us as a reader emotionally invested in her safety, and it builds anticipation for the day that she will finally confront Jura again, because there will be a rematch. When that day comes and she faces the very creature who haunted her from their very first interaction, the audience will already know the weight of what could have been. And when she overcomes that fate, especially if she has help, that's when we'll see her finally complete her character arc. From Naruto's daughter to Kurama's successor to the girl who defied destiny itself, just like her brother defied destiny itself. This is a final trinity. Boruto, Kawaki, and Himawari, they're all people who are in the process of defying destiny. In the end, that road to Jura's defeat, it isn't about Boruto's new sword. It's not about Kawaki getting strange DNA pumped inside of him by Amato. It's about finding the balance of these three forces. Boruto, that transcendent being who bridges godhood and humanity. Kawaki, that fallen vessel that represents control and fear and obsession. And Himawari being a natural harmony. Together, they embody the theme of the Boruto era. Evolution through balance, not through domination. Evolution through coexistence. Jura may be stronger, but his flaw is his curiosity. You could even argue his pride might be something that brings him down. In particular, his pride and his thirst for knowledge. Himawari Uzumaki, the one child born from love and legacy and light, she might be the perfect vessel to shine the light on what Boruto could eventually use to take down Jura. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Click here on the left for that Boruto chapter review, or click here on the right to check out that My Dress Up Darling video that I referenced earlier.